address several aspects of Part 2 of this bill. The one thing we can be certain of, referring to Clause 16, is clearly the present Governor-General will not be using these provisions at all. And that's a good thing, because I talked about the calibre of the present Governor-General earlier, and we know for certain that there is no need for him to use this part of the provisions at all. However, it is fascinating to try to understand why this clause is there and what might be the set of circumstances under which it might be brought into play. And Honourable Trevor Mallard's thesis about how this clause might come into play has been fascinating, and so is my colleague Mr. Robertson, the last speaker, as well. And so there probably are scenarios, but perhaps the Minister will take a call and explain what was his thinking, Minister in the Chair, about this particular provision. And that might clarify some of the concerns that this side has raised. And the Minister hasn't taken a call so far, and we've asked several questions. And I'm sure he's keeping all his answers to one tight response, which I'm sure he'll take just prior to 6 p.m, so we know we'll have those answers. But I can see it's possible that this might be utilised, and the Honourable Member has got sticky notes, very small sticky notes to provide his answers. Is that what it is? Okay, thank you. But it is, and I'm serious about this, a testament to the officials who have worked on this bill, that they have considered it from many aspects, and it's very thorough. And Clause 6 is an example of that. Referring now to Clause 19, Mr. Chairman, what Clause 19 and 20 do is that here we'll have a standalone act when this bill is passed that relates to all of the conditions to do with the Governor-General, and I think that's a good thing. It'll be an easy place to go to. It comes out of the civil list, and here will be all of the provisions. So 19 and 20 does a good job. But perhaps from a public perspective, the provisions of Clauses 21 and to 24 really apply, referring to the requirement that the Governor-General pay taxes. And this is probably something that the public of New Zealand will take very seriously, will take great heart from, because it's beginning to say, well, we will treat our Governor-General as an ordinary person in terms of, colloquially speaking, in terms of a person earning a salary, and Part 1 makes those changes, and here the Governor-General will be required to pay taxes like the rest of us. And there will be widespread support for this particular provision. It regularises the position, as indeed all of the other clauses have done. There's great transparency, as others have talked about. And I would expect the present Governor-General, and indeed I'll be certain that this is so, he himself supports this type of provision, because indeed the present Governor-General has not even taken the salary rise that he was entitled to before, saying that he takes a different position on this and seriously understands the current climate and has demonstrated that he wants to be treated in this particular way. And also, referring briefly to Clauses 25 and 26, so here we are, the present Governor-General is again protected in terms of ongoing annuities, and the provisions of 25 and 26 don't compromise the provisions of the present Governor-General, and indeed Clause 26 is just making it certain that there is an avoidance of doubt clause there, making it certain that the provisions would apply. So all in all, Part 2, Mr. Chairman, actually does clarify a lot of questions we had about this particular role, regularises many of the provisions that are necessary, and Part 2 increases transparency as we understand it, protects the present Governor-General, and really enables the public to have greater faith and confidence in this particular role in terms of being treated like every other taxpayer.
Members, the question is that Part 2 stand part, but before we do, we have an amendment in the name of the Right Honourable John Key. The amendment is set out on SOP 164. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary will say no. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to further now debate, especially around the questions of the amendment to the Civil List Act in section clause 18.
I'm sorry
of
to.
the particular
I'm
bill.
sorry to.
I didn't think there'd been a closure, sir.
No, I have actually started to put the vote, and so when I've started to put the vote, then well, I have. I've asked that Part 2 stand part. I've put the amendment. We've voted on the amendment, and now we're moving through. The final part is Part 2 as amended stand part. So there is no opportunity. There's no opportunity to relitigate once I've started to put the vote.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. And I'm reluctant to disagree with a chairman in his ruling in this area, and I can see some standing orders are being passed to you, but it's long been the practice of this House to have votes on amendments to particular clauses and then to move on, especially when there are parts and where there are amendments which affect particular clauses, and then to move on to further debates on the bill then as amended.
Thank you. I thank the member for his comments. Can I refer you to Speaker's Rulings 115.1, and it says putting the question, but I'll just refer the member to the second to last paragraph. If there is no closure, it is incumbent on members to seek the call to continue the debate if they wish to speak. If members do not call, the chairperson begins to put the question on the amendments, and then there can be no further debate on the clause. And that's the position that we're at, and I've so ruled. So the question is that Part 2 is amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary will say no. The ayes have it. Members, we now move to clauses 1 and 2.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, the first question I'd like to ask the Minister here, because while there is a coming into force provision that we're talking about here, or a commencement date, indicating that it comes into force on the day after.
Sorry to interrupt the Honourable Member, but the time has come for me to leave the chair. I shall resume the chair at 7:30.